we can't see it. Unless we look in a mirror, we can't see it. So really the first step I have to take with everybody is just educate them about their body, educate them about the process of breathing, and show them what they're doing now and what I want them to do after now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say for you, the best thing you can do is literally close your mouth all day long, all night long. There should not be a time when you feel like you have to breathe in your mouth. And if you do, if you feel that moment, like you said, okay, I just got up, I went and peed, and now I'm coming back, and I'm laying down. My body's laying down again. I'm going to guess that laying down is the position that makes it, oh my God, I'm short of breath. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay. So your best approach is to get into that position and attack your breathing. I feel short of breath. I feel like I have to use my mouth when I lay down. I'm going to purposefully put myself in a laying down position. Start a timer and just try to breathe through my nose. Maybe it's 5 minutes. I'm going to breathe for these next 5 minutes with my nose. Maybe it's 1 minute. Who knows? You can always stop. You can always go back to doing what you were doing. But if you're trying to nudge your body in the right direction, right? Nudge the system into something better, something more efficient, doing it under your own terms is completely important. And that's probably the best way to do it. So tonight, when you lay down, see how long you can breathe through your nose.
Okay.
And the next time we talk, you can say, I only made it a minute, or holy crap, I made it for 30 minutes. I mean, you might surprise yourself.
So, Andy, what are the real, talk to us in the form of what the benefits are for breathing that way. I mean, I understand what you were saying about, getting it here, but expand on that for us.
Okay. So when you're improving your breathing, there's sort of two main categories of benefits. There's the physical category, like I can walk farther, I'm less short of breath, I can produce more power, X, Y, and Z. And then on the other side, there's the intangible stuff, the mental stuff. When we have two different, so our autonomic nervous system, the name even says it, autonomic. It's supposed to be the part of our nervous system that is completely out of our control. It has two sides. It has the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system. This is what they call fight or flight, right? If a mountain lion suddenly shows up on your street and you feel your heart rate go, oh my God, right? That's your sympathetic nervous system turning on. It's the same feeling you get when you almost get pulled over. You know that, like, oh my God, heart's beating. Whoa, I almost got it. That's sympathetic nervous system. That's fight or flight. That's fear. When that happens, the blood gets shunted to our extremities, and we have an increased level in hormones like cortisol, which is basically your stress hormone. So we have the ability to run away from that bear, run away from the mountain lion, or run away from the cops or whatever. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. So that's blood's now going to the center of the body. It's going to the organs. It's going to take care of all that digestion that we have to do. And it also is going to allow your body to be calm and relax, because now we're shutting off those stress hormones, the cortisol levels. They're all going down. So when your parasympathetic nervous system kicks on, calm. When your sympathetic nervous system kicks on, not calm. Okay? Now, we basically live our lives trying to do this, just trying to balance all the time. There are times we need to be fight or flight. There's times we need to be rest and digest, and just kind of finding homeostasis is really important. As our lives have gotten more complicated and more stressful and more full, really, sympathetic nervous system parasympathetic nervous system. We're just going up, 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 up all the time on the sympathetic. The parasympathetic, not really getting a lot of love. You know, when your phone stops really being useful and you notice you've got like 30 apps open on it, that's basically our body with sympathetic nervous system turned on all the time. Like, you just can't live there. And so what happens is we start to break down. Your breathing is kind of the lever between the two systems, right? Fast, quick breathing, this is sympathetic. Slow, deep, calm breathing, this is parasympathetic. So even in those moments where you're like totally jacked up and stressed and freaking out, what's the thing that people tell you to do? They tell you, yeah, take some deep breaths, because that's taking that lever that's going, oh, I'm stressed out, I'm freaking out, sympathetic, and going, nope, we're calming down. Calm. Keep going. So that's applicable in sort of a macro sense, not just in the moment where I'm really stressed out, but maybe I'm actually always kind of stressed out because I'm a human that's alive in 2020, and 2020's kind of messed up. And I went through whatever I went through. Maybe I went through stroke. Maybe I went through a car accident. Maybe I went through a divorce. Maybe I went through addiction. These are all things, right? Everybody's got things. If you can harness the power of that lever, you can actually reduce the chronic effects of stress and the chronic effects of anxiety on your body by simply using your breathing. But
that's incredible. Go ahead.
Tell me about it. I mean,
well, so let me ask one other, I don't mean to interject too soon.
Go ahead. I'll just talk all day, so I'm glad you did.
But we're probably a lot more in common than I want to admit. When you breathe deep like that, is it affecting, in other words, if you're shallow breathing, getting the air to all, when you deep breathe, does it get more air to all of the things that need air? I guess, yeah. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say.
No, you're asking a good question. So if I breathe fast breaths, fast, shallow breaths like this, those aren't even shallow. Those are actually pretty deep, but I'm still breathing really fast. The thought process usually, man, I'm short of breath. I need some oxygen. Breathing like that isn't bringing you any more oxygen. You're breathing all that oxygen back out. You can't absorb it like that. It takes time. Like, you have to inhale slowly, it has to percolate, and then it has to go back out. So what happens as you breathe really quickly is you're actually like building up too much oxygen. The slow, deep breathing actually lets you kind of catch up. It lets your CO2 levels sort of mellow out, kind of get back to even. So you will deliver that oxygen to your body equally effectively, if not more effectively, when you can slow your respiration down. So the thing that I'm doing, I work with some athletes as well. I have people literally across the board. I have young people and older people and athletes and non-athletes and post-surgical and non-surgical, neurologic, everybody's got something going on with their breathing. Some people are just wanting to be faster runners. I'm training those fast runners to breathe slower, to breathe as slowly as you can. So I've got these guys that are running marathons that are trying to breathe the whole time through their nose, because there's really not a reason or a benefit for you to ever be going when you're running, when you could be.
Interesting.
That will do more for you than, it doesn't seem like it, but if you can train your body to do that, it's going to do that automatically. Every time you start, okay, here we go, we're going to move. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do that thing that's challenging for me. Slow my breathing down. Deep, slow breaths the whole time. And then that starts to translate to your whole life. There's a phenomenon called email apnea. You ever heard of this?
No,
Like
but
a
I can
sleep
guess.
apnea.
Yeah, email apnea is what people do that are sitting at a computer all day, where their normal breathing looks like this, up and down, right? Normal, calm breathing. They're sitting at their desk and they're breathing well, and then an email comes in and they go, oh shit, I gotta do that thing. All right, I'm gonna read that email. All right, and I'm gonna breathe again. Keep reading that email. Breathe again. They screw up their breathing because they're focused on their email. It's like the way we breathe has become the least important thing to everybody because none of us ever think about it at all. We think about so many things throughout the day and none of them are breathing. Yet that's the thing that we could actually use to kind of accomplish more with our day and accomplish more with our life and feel better. You know, there's literally innumerable benefits. But even if it was just, you want to be 4% more efficient, you want your body to do 4% more than it could, change your breathing.
Interesting. Well, so let's go back to the email thing for a second, because as you're saying that, you know, I can't say that I do that specifically, but I probably do. So,
I do it.
well,
I'm
I
guessing
was just going to ask you, have you trained yourself to think about that? I mean, what is what can we do to work on this in our lives?
So the first thing you can do is understand your breathing. That's the first thing you can do. How do I breathe? What do I do? Right? Once we get past that, and you're talking about things like email apnea, training yourself to breathe really just requires kind of a paradigm shift. It's just changing how you think, right? The fact that we're talking about this is the first step towards changing how you think, because now you're like, oh, maybe I do that. Maybe I want to know. Maybe I'm going to look at it. Maybe I'm going to think about it. But literally what you can do is when you're reading your book, as you're going to bed, or when you're, you know, hopefully everybody's reading books these days, but who knows? When you're reading something, make it a point to slow your breathing down as much as you can without stopping, where that's the exercise. That's one of the things that I do, right? If I'm reading my book right now, I'm reading a really interesting book. It's called Stamped from the Beginning. It's a history from 1619 all the way through now, and how Black people and indigenous people have been essentially screwed from the beginning in America. Super interesting, but dense, you know, lots of stuff going on. And I found moments where I was just not breathing. So I started doing this exercise, which is simply just, I'm going to breathe only through my nose, like Bill's doing. Bill's doing some serious nose breathing right now. I'm going to breathe through my nose as slowly as I can, 4 times a minute, 3 times a minute, really slow. And make that a point. And as I do that, I get better at it and better at it and better at it. And I'm reading the whole time. So I'm doing the activity that's normally distracting to me, which is reading the email or reading the book. But I've got a strategy. I've got something in my head that I'm practicing. So even though I'm reading to put myself to sleep at the end of the day, I'm doing something to better my body. I'm doing something to better my brain. And all that deep breathing is going to put me to sleep really nicely too, which is really great. Just kind of fills your body with what you need and calms you down. So the very short answer is yes, you can change just about anything in your.
Are there any, and I'm sure there are, and I should know this having chatted with you a little bit, but are there any specific studies or anything that show how it can affect your brain or the ability to, you know, get more focused on anything or anything of that nature?
Interesting. You mean focus? I bet there are. I don't know any offhand. It's not something I've looked into.
Yeah.
I know that there is a strong correlation between breathing pattern dysfunction, anxiety, and ADHD. And they're finding that more and more in young people.
Yeah.
That a lot of these breathing patterns can arise really young, like when you're a little baby. And I'll give you an example. This is not an anxiety or ADHD patient, but I had one gentleman who's my age. I'm 37. He's also 37, and he's a lacrosse player. And he's saying, every time I go out and play, every time I go run, I feel like I'm going to throw up, like right away. Like first hard sprint, I'm out of breath and I feel like I'm going to puke, and I feel like I'm going to puke for the whole game, and it doesn't get any better, and I feel terrible. So I said, okay, well, let's fix you. He came in, we looked at him, and he had a scar right here. He had surgery when he was 1. I forget what he had taken out at this point, but he had a scar right there, and it was kind of in. When scars are early, they sort of grow like this. And I looked at him, he was sort of holding his belly in like this, and he had this scar. And so what I had to get him to do was, like, relax, first of all. Don't suck your belly in. Do you know that North America is the place where more people hold their abdomens in than anywhere in the world? Yeah,
I might be one of those people.
Well, yeah. Well, nobody wants to just like let it all hang out. You kind of want to, oh, look at me. I still look like I'm in high school. I look good. But then when you relax, everything changes, right? He was walking around all day like this and playing his whole game like this, and all of it stuck in here. And the second that we said, hey, you know what? You don't breathe like this. You breathe. Once we got him to do that, everything changed. No more crampy feeling, no more feeling like he was going to throw up, could run farther. Like, all of that changed. We didn't do anything about the scar. And then he says, yeah, it's cool, I can run, but now I got this gut. I was like, well, you had the gut, but you just weren't like showing it. So now you got a reason to work out more. So yeah. So there's all kinds of little things that we do to ourselves. I mean, literally do to ourselves that screw up our breathing, because I'm lucky in that I get to see people that are intubated, sedated, knocked out, totally paralyzed chemically, that are breathing on machines, and their breathing looks beautiful. It's perfect. It's diaphragm initiated. They move their chest. They don't do any of this stuff. They're not doing anything weird. They're not holding their guts. They're just breathing calmly and efficiently and relaxed and slowly and effectively, because we got the human out of the way. So if I can teach the human how to get out of their own way, that helps.
Yeah.
Now, this is anecdotal, but my guess is that the more that you're able to give people strategies to focus on, like giving you a breathing strategy, gives you something to wrap your mind around and hold on to. I'm going to focus on this deep breathing thing that I've been taught to do, that I've been practicing. I have to think that would improve some of those attention-driven problems, because it's just practicing focus. And it's also practicing multitasking, because now you're having to do that thing and walk and drive and whatever. It's like walking and chewing gum. It's hard at first, but doable once you get used to it.
Yeah. Well, I would have trouble believing any doubt that breathing and how that affects the blood flow and how it affects everything. I mean, that all comes into your brain as well. And so to me, it seems common sense that it would help us get, grow our brains faster back and be able to, do whatever it is we're trying to do, not just physically, but mentally as well, through that. And so I think that's just my own opinion, but
well, it's valid. You said, like, our ability to get things done. Breathing and anxiety levels are totally related, right? If you're super anxious, you're going to breathe faster. You know, if you're worried, you're breathing faster. It's normal. I think we've all probably experienced that, you know, that sense of dread and just, God, I am a little out of breath.
Yeah.
When you can manipulate your breathing, and I'm using that word on purpose. We're talking about manipulating now. This is not just like improving how you breathe. This is actually using your breathing to try to kind of like hijack the system, like really move this lever a lot. When I breathe really fast, sympathetic system, and then I decide, hold the breath. Now we're in parasympathetic. I'm not doing anything. I'm giving my body nothing. I'm holding my breath and being totally still. I'm quieting my mind. I'm letting it relax. I'm letting the nothing of holding my breath take over. When I finally reach that moment of, oh my God, 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 all right, I gotta breathe in. I've just given my body a huge dose of stress. The stress of I can't breathe is real. It's like the realest stress you can get. Drowning, choking, like no joke. That beats the pants off of like, it was a hard day at work, or my marriage is really tough, or my back hurts. Like, I can't breathe is death. That is stress. That is real. So if you can, boom, give yourself an on purpose dose of high stress, what we found is all the stresses that you encounter for the rest of the day are less to your body. Now, you're still feeling the stress. It's still hard. You still have a hard marriage and a hard job and a hurt back. But you gave yourself that big dose of stress. So for the rest of the day, your body's, it's not going to get that level. It's still, like all that stress is still going to be just like, oh, well, all right, that's manageable. I almost died this morning. This is manageable.
Now I see where you're at on that. It took me a minute to kind of catch up to what you were talking about as far as hold your breath. It's creating that stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, level at a high level, and then your day won't. Okay, now I'm with you.
Mm-hmm. Another good example of that stress that you can manipulate is cold water. Who here has been in cold water? We all live in Oregon. We've all been in cold water, right? What's the first thing that happens? Oh my God, 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 give me up, right? Shoulders come up, eyes are up, sympathetic nervous system through the roof. But if you can, in a controlled environment, apply that stress and have a strategy, like, all right, here comes the cold water. Turning on my shower, I'm gonna be calm. Boom, cold water, slow breaths. Keep the slow breaths going. And that cold water becomes less stressful. And eventually, you feel pretty warm. Now, that's also based on a meditation technique called Tumo that's like 5,000 years old, that people have been melting circles in the snow for thousands of years using this. But it's the same thing. It's hijacking your body's system through your breathing, right? If I just stood there in the cold water and went, it's really cold, I'd freak out and I would not be able to handle it. I'd have to quit.
Right.
But you can stand there in a cold shower of water and breathe calmly, and you just don't get cold.
Yeah.
You can stand there in the Deschutes River in January, right up to here, slow your breathing down, and you're going to be able to handle it better than you would. I mean, all you have to do is Google this guy Wim Hof. It's out there. W-H-W-I-M-H-O-F. That guy is not human, but he's kind of the one that wrangled all this stuff and put it out there and made it approachable to people. And again, we're going into the anecdotal part. So for me, I try all of this stuff out. You know, I try everything that I find out and see if it's bullshit or if it's workable or if it's pseudoscience. and I try to tweak it into something that's, you know, manageable for people to consume. I've been doing those two things. I'm doing big breath holds as long as I can, like, and then I've been doing these cold water exposures every day since basically Christmas. And I'm sure I'm with a lot of you guys that the last 6 months, 7 months have certainly been some of the most stressful times of my life. You know, and not just because of COVID, not just because of work, but, you know, deaths in the family, going through all kinds of changes. Like it's a stressful time. It's not an easy time. It's certainly not relaxed. But perhaps it's because of those things that I have felt more ability to manage those stresses, and thus felt more powerful than I ever have in my whole life. And I don't know if that's just me drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm drinking my own. But I'm in a better place because I feel like I have a little control over something that's maybe not something I could control a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it doesn't
Well,
cost time.
And I don't know if you want to call it Kool-Aid or not. To me, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it helps you and works for you, then I'm all for it. That's my own opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody got any questions or anything for Andy before we?
I have one, Keith.
Yeah.
You can make this just a quick one because I don't know that there is an answer. But every year I suffer like crazy from allergies. 3 to 6 months usually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to breathe through my nose. It's always plugged with something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either going down the throat or out the nose or somewhere that it's supposed to.
Do you feel like that's making it so you have to kind of breathe through your mouth, sort of like Jock or like Bill was talking about?
Yeah, because up here it's just clogged.
Right. So there are plenty of people out there who can't breathe through their nose. You know, whether that's because they got punched in the face and had a deviated septum and it never really came back together, or more likely, you know, there's a lot of people with seasonal allergies. So you're in that second category because those other 6 months of the year, your nose is clear, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So if you can nudge your system towards more nose breathing in the time when it is easiest, right? Like in the time when your seasonal allergies aren't in full bloom, you should be able to make some inroads towards improving how much room there is up there. Because if you have a lot of mucus that's forming and it's clogging things up, and you're kind of prone to mouth breathing anyway, chances are that fist is probably shrinking and getting smaller and tighter.
Okay.
Right? Because it doesn't have this constant flow of air going, filling up those spaces. I want to hang on. I'm going to grab an anatomy textbook. Can you hang for 1 second?
Sure.
Be right back. Okay. All right. That's your nose. Okay. Nostrils, and these are your nasal concha. It's huge in there. So with the sinuses being sort of these little areas up here, there's tiny little holes that fill those. So sinus pressure, we know what sinus pressure feels like. It feels like a lot more painful and a lot more precise, as opposed to stuffy nose, which is just like, I'm just full of boogers and I can't really move the air through. If you're able over time to continue breathing through your nose, when your allergies hit, at the beginning of that, if you have a strategy, which is like, I'm going to continue this nose breathing that I've worked hard on the last 3 months, I'm going to keep it going. What'll happen is this will stay more open. This will stay more free of stuff. You'll still produce all the mucus, but you'll have created more space, and you'll be constantly keeping it open instead of like, ah, shit, I'm just filling up. Time to breathe through my mouth. So it's like not going to solve your allergies, but it should solve the space issue, right? It's like a big snowstorm coming, and you know it's going to snow 4 feet. So what you do is you shovel every 3 inches so that you don't wreck your back, instead of waiting till it's 4 feet and it's completely filling the driveway and then trying to shovel it out and saying, oh, I guess I'm just going to live in my house until the snow melts. Okay. Is that helpful at all?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, anytime I get to use my anatomy textbooks, I'm all excited. I dork out on this stuff. Really, it's kind of ridiculous. So, yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
useful though.
Anybody else? Thanks, Jock, for the question on that. Anybody else got anything?
No, but I want to thank you. Helping me.
Oh, absolutely. If anybody is curious, if this is one of those things that's starting to get the wheels rolling where you're like, what? How do I breathe? I recommend a book called Breath. Simply that, Breath. It's by a guy named James Nestor. He just wrote it. It's been out for a couple of months. And he did a really, really good job of extracting all the history he could find and all the research he could find and all the data he could find about why we breathe the way we breathe and how we breathe the way we breathe. And it's kind of a mind blower. It's about 200 pages and it's a good read. It might just change the way you think about how you breathe. And that's really the goal. The goal is, for what I do is I want every person that walks in my door or every patient in whose room I spend time in the ICU, I want to change how they think. I want them to be thinking about their breathing first all the time. Now, it doesn't mean spending all your time thinking about breathing. It just means having a strategy for everything you do. I have a breathing strategy for when I'm walking and exerting myself. I've got a breathing strategy for when I'm sitting there at the computer. I got a breathing strategy for when I need to stand up from a really low chair. I got a breathing strategy for when I'm stressed out and anxious, painful, you name it. But having a strategy means you're thinking about it and you're aware.
What'd you say, Bill?
Debbie just ordered a book for me.
Right on. Nice. Good to hear.
Chuck, did you have a question too, bud?
Oh, it just it sounded like it was like mindful cognitive behavioral breathing technique or something. Yeah.
The term mindfulness is one of those ones that I have a hard time with. Not that I think it's bad, but I think it's really hard to define, you know? And it's also what you hear a lot of people talking about lately, you know? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just trying to be more mindful. I'm trying to practice mindfulness. You know, what is mindful? Mindful could be a lot of things. Maybe your mind is full of stress. Maybe your mind is full of thoughts about work. The same kind of thing happens when you talk about meditation, right? You talk to some people about meditation and they're like, I'm good. I don't even want to hear anymore. I'm good. And I think I get that because I'm a skeptical person. I'm a Western medicine kind of person. I'm skeptical of everything until you prove it to me. So part of the reason why breathing isn't something that is being addressed is that the only people that are out there right now that are talking about breathing or trying to change how you breathe, teach somebody how to breathe, are yoga instructors, energy medicine people. You know, it's a very tight lane, and there's only certain people that are buying into that. I came to this conclusion that how you breathe really matters through Western medicine, through the intensive care unit, through the same shit that every one of you guys went through when you were a part of your story. Like when you went through your stroke, you went through everything that's brought me to this conclusion, which is there's so many things that Western medicine can do for your body. But all those benefits of meditation and mindfulness and all that stuff, what I affectionately kind of call breath work, because you hear that term thrown around a lot. The benefits of that are the calming, you know, and the mental relaxation and the perspective on your life and just a little bit more ability to deal with what's going on in your life. What I'm trying to point out is that that's actually based in science. That's based in you changed your heart rate variability, you changed your hormone levels, you changed your sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous systems. And if I just told you, go be mindful, it's hard. You know, that's hard to do, because what if every time you just lay down to be mindful, you start thinking about all the shit that stresses you out, or all the shit that's pissing you off, or maybe you're just thinking about all the stuff you have to do tomorrow. By giving you knowledge about your breathing and assigning you the task, focus on your breathing, focus on how you breathe. Now you have a task. So you're not just thinking blank mind, you're thinking super focused mind for these next 30 breaths. All I'm going to think about is my breathing. Because the slower and deeper you breathe, the more you actually have to think about it. And you'll notice that, you know, I certainly noticed that in one of those first cold showers I took. Because if I'm focused on my breathing, I'm warm. But the second that my mind starts to wander towards work and towards other stresses, water's getting cold. But if I can snap it back into focus, cold water goes away and I'm back on my breathing. And it's like a mental push-up. I mean, it really is. Making your mind focus on your body and what it does to keep it alive is the most basic function we all can do. So if you can focus on that, I think that you gain all the benefits of mindfulness or meditation that people talk about without giving you a how-to strategy.
Very good. Anything else, anybody? Hey, Andy, thank you so much.
Yes.
That
My
was
pleasure.
a very good one.
Stuff.
Yeah, very
Did
good.
you,
Really appreciate it.
What's that, Chuck?
could you shoot his email over to me?
Here, I'm just going to put it up in the chat, okay?
Well,
Okay.
and if it's okay, Andy, can I share it with the men's group?
Of course.
Your email, and I'll say a few things about the meeting and stuff, and then
Sure.
You got that, Chuck?
Um,
Are you seeing
Yeah.
your emails, buddy? Are you getting your emails, Chuck?
no, go ahead.
Well, because I'm saying I'll email everybody.
Let me check it.
No. I apologize.
okay.
I'm saying the wrong thing. I will
Okay.
email you later, and I'll have
Okay.
this information on there for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet, bud. Very good.
And thank, Keith, and this is actually to everybody, but Keith and Bill and Jock, thank you guys for allowing me to be here too. Stroke has affected my life a lot, not my body, but has affected my life. And a lot of what I do every day at work is because I know that there is a lot that a lot of other people are going through that's way worse than what I am. And my goal is always just to try to help improve what I can, help where I can, whether that's the ICU or now this. So if ever there's something that I can do for any of you, you have a question, you have a thought, maybe an idea, throw it at me. I'm a believer in the conversation. I believe in what Keith's doing. And I think that a lot of what Keith's doing started just by talking. So you guys are doing the hard work just by talking and encouraging the other people around you to talk about all this stuff, whether it's the things that you go through after stroke or even just talking about whatever. But I know that whenever I start getting into breathing, getting into whatever's going on with a person's breathing, it almost always unpacks a lot of other stuff, because there's nothing that's tied to your emotions more than how you breathe.
Yeah. Well, and I should have told everybody in the beginning, I mean, Andy lost his dad to stroke and stuff. But, you know, we are kind of out of time. So thank you again so much, Andy. Really appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and it helps us a lot. And we're very thankful for that.
Well, I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
All right, guys. Now, last thing I'm going to say. The next one, we're supposed to have another a doctor come on with us, and I'll get you the information. But also, Andy, I need to apologize, but I didn't start the recording until almost 25 minutes in because I didn't frickin' remember. And so this recording is going to be about, you know, it's not the whole thing, but it's very important stuff. So I'm going to share that, and I apologize for missing that. So.
Oh, good. I was late, so I kind of deserve it.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Keith,
Have a
appreciate
great week. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
it.
All right. Bye.
See you guys.
Oh, hey, Keith.
Yeah.
Steve Goyen says hello.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I sent him an email the other day.
Yeah, he had high praise for you, and I mean, yeah, of course, it's like nothing we haven't said before. But yeah, he said to send you his best and thinks the world of you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I just finished my program.
Did you?
I just finished that, dude. Yeah. So I'll be sharing it with you, and yeah, I'll share it with anybody, any of the guys on the group that want it. So.
Congrats, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's I feel really good about it. Thank you so much, Chuck. I mean, Andy.
You're good. I'll see you soon,
You too,
okay?
Chuck. Appreciate you too. And
We'll see you
Bill,
guys.
and you too, Jack. All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right.